So what was your first Atari? Would that have been the XL?
Nope, 800 actually. So
Oh, okay.
their first computers was the Atari 400 and 800.
Mm.
They announced in the late 70s and came out right around 1979, 80. So I saved my paper route money. I don't know, as a kid, if you were told you're going to have, you need to make your own money.
Yeah.
Paper routes here in the United States was a way for kids to be employed
Yeah. Yeah.
early, learn how that you've got deadlines and do something. So I had two paper routes, and I did paper route and so saved my money to buy my first computer. My parents helped out by buying the balance. I think I saved $1,000, and my Atari
Wow.
800 in 1980 was $1,210. I think that was for the 800 with a cassette recorder and shipping. So I paid the 1,000. My parents paid the 200 and whatever, because kid, you did a damn good job. You earned $1,000. So yeah, it was an Atari 800 was my first.
So how long did it take you to save that? Because that's a lot of money, and that's a lot of money, I suppose, back then as well.
Yeah,
So
it was big time. Yeah, so I'm old. So I had a paper route back in the 1970s.
yeah,
So back then, you could earn money by having the paper route itself. The company that made the paper gave you money, X amount. And then you could also get subscriptions. It so happened that the papers that I delivered, you did not have to pay for. But people, a few of them would say, if you porch my paper and it doesn't come in all wet, I'll give you a few bucks. So they still had subscriptions. So you would be told to go up and ask everybody, would you like to subscribe? And 90% of them came back and said, well, I get it for free. I'm not giving you any money.
yeah.
But a few would come back and say, sure, kid, you're up early. I would like to have my paper on time and not wet. So if you put it on the porch and protect it in a baggie if it's raining, I will subscribe for an extra, $5 a month or whatever. So it took me years still. I saved and saved, and I eventually saved enough to where my parents thought, okay, he did pretty good, and we'll pitch in the balance.
Yeah, that's a good way of learning about money, definitely.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I was pretty enthusiastic in terms of an entrepreneurial as a kid to a degree. Yeah, if I'm going to earn, my parents took great care of us, gave us everything in the world, but they also treated you like, well, no, I'm not going to buy you a computer. You need to learn how you're going to achieve those things. So that put in me, well, I need to get a paper route or mow people's lawns. So back then it wasn't only paper route money. I also mowed people's lawns.
Wow.
So with that, gave you extra way to save. And then also grandparents would give you Christmas money. So between paper route and lawn service and also just saving up money that I would get, I finally did it. It probably took me a year or two, is my guess.
So I just love the fact that you did that, because that's such a good starting basis for future work and attitude, and that's something you're seeing less and less now, especially in the UK. You very rarely see paper rounds anymore. You don't see the typical paper boy anymore. I mean, when I was a kid, there was paper rounds, but I was terrible at it. Luckily, I wasn't a bad singer, so I was in the church choir. Believe it or not.
Oh, nice.
but yeah, I used to get paid for it. Like weddings and things like that. But,
oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's a bit different these days. I don't know. I don't think they have paper routes here for kids anymore either, because I think it's become an adult job where they drive instead of being on a bike. Because when I delivered, I either walked or was on my bike and throwing papers to some places, and others having to get off the bike and putting it on their little front door. But yeah, I don't know what do kids do these days for money. I don't think you can get a job at fast food until you're at least 16, I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't have kids, so.
Yeah, well, yeah, 16, 17. I suppose you can work in a little shop, maybe a little corner shop. But Yeah, it's. I think it's down to people, parents not feeling safe as well. Um,
Yeah,
Letting their kids work or get up early in the morning and like what we used to
right.
do.
It is a
Um,
different time
Times have
for
changed.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though there were crazies back then that did things, you know, maybe it wasn't televised as much back
Well,
then.
we got
And at the
phones
same
now, haven't we?
time,
Yeah, we got phones now
yeah,
and the internet.
yeah, none of that was out there. So I'm sure, because even in my little city, there were abductions. And I remember as a kid, one of the things I remember very fondly, because we walked to school or biked to school. And I remember I was maybe in the second grade, third grade. I had to walk back and forth to school, and I was on a main thoroughfare, and a car stopped next to me and said, "Come into the car, little boy," type of thing. My parent,
Right.
your parents told me to get in there, and my parents had said, run for your and run like a Dickens, like
Yeah.
I say, and yell type of thing. And I said, when and started
Yeah.
running. So
Absolutely.
very well could have been an issue where I could have been abducted. I don't know.
Yeah.
Parents definitely didn't send
Yeah.
anybody, but yeah, there's a lot. That's one of the dangers I think of the internet. Uh, it's great, but it also gives weirdos lots of ideas of things they can do,
Yes,
uh,
definitely.
and it just I think makes it even worse. So yeah, I can understand why they wouldn't want kids out early like that.
Yeah. But back then as when well, they used to have. I imagine the same in America. We used to have commercials. So you'd have like little adverts saying, "Oh, don't talk to strangers."
Right?
You'd have adverts about crossing the road. All those adverts have disappeared now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the one that I remember fondly is the frying pan where they put an egg in the fry. This is your brain. This
Yeah.
is your brain on drugs, and they throw an egg in the frying pan. I don't know if they had that
Oh
one in
wow,
the
we never
UK.
had that one, but
Okay, so
sounds a good one.
yeah, you're fried. So in the
Yeah.
United States, the drugs, I guess, became more apparent or something. So yeah, this is your brain on drugs, and threw an egg in a frying pan, and
Yeah.
it's all
Scrambled
sizzling.
egg.